Alright, another Pokemon generation has come and gone. It's been 3 years, been a decent run. I gotta make this fast because I don't actually have that much space on my phone, but last time that the Pokemon generation ended, I did like a retrospective video talking about the generation as a whole, like my thoughts on it and everything that transpired with it. So this time I'm gonna do something similar. So yeah, Gen 8, what a time it's been, huh? I remember, like, the hype cycle coming into it, the national dex debates, do we even need to? We should. It was such a big deal at the start of, like, the fandom, because we were just coming off of Ultra Sun and Moon, that people weren't really too happy with. Like, people were starting to, like, really get fatigued with 3D Pokemon and starting to realize, hey, this is just a series about hallways, and we're losing features, and we're doing all this and that. People weren't really happy with it. And then they announced that the Pokemon amount would be cut and you wouldn't be able to transfer over all your favorites from the previous games, and that sparked an internet war. I actually was the one who broke the news to my Discord server, the Pokemon Plus community. I was the one who broke the news then, and man, what a time it was. It was like a war. You had to pick your side, and it was like, ah! And it really was a big deal. Like, I genuinely know people, like my uncle, who was like a devout Pokemon fan for years, who didn't pick up Sword and Shield. A lot of people didn't do that. The game sold very well, don't get me wrong, but there were a lot of people who were lost from Pokemon fans because of that decision and other decisions. And of course, it was the thing that Pokemon, it wasn't just that the National Dex was cut, it was, first of all, that they lied to us about it. Because everyone could tell that the main reason why they cut the Pokedex was because they didn't have enough time. And the second reason was because when they lied to us about it, they made a claim that it was like to make sure the game like looked its best and was like everything in that, and people immediately picked it apart because let's get this out of the way. This game is, it is a unfinished, I don't want to say trashterpiece because that sounds mean, but it kind of is. And yeah, that's how it kind of ended up being, and people could tell the draw distance was weird, textures were low quality, animations looked like ass. It wasn't a good look that the biggest franchise, and people don't like to talk about this, but it is true, Pokemon is the biggest franchise, and it was not a good look that it was coming onto consoles for the first time, and it didn't look that great. Now, for my money, this was a generation I was really hyped for. Because obviously, I love the Galar starters. This is my favorite trio of starters ever. Genuinely. Still are. To this day. Like, that was an opinion I had during the hype cycle. I had dreams about getting plushes of them. I distinctly remember getting them at the GameStop and filming the video and being like the first person to review them on YouTube. So happy about that. But, man, I love the Galar starters, and I love the Galar gang. Like, not just these three, but, like, the whole generation's, like, group of Pokemon. My eye itches. Oh, God. But, like, I love the Galar Pokemon. I really do. And I love raids. I think it's a brilliant feature. It combines, like, it fixes the competitive Pokemon problem, where it is competitive, and people who don't want to be competitive are like missing out on everything that has to do with the battle system. Raids fixed that. It was like a cooperative work together system that used the battle system. It was such a good idea for a gameplay gimmick, and it was such a wonderful thing, and I had so many good memories from it. This game gave me good memories. Playing it on day one, making the Galar starter videos and getting a lot of good reception on them. Gen 8 gave me a lot of good stuff. It just brought a lot of controversy, and yeah, there was a lot to go over. Like, the game genuinely did feel unfinished, story pacing was weird, reused animations that didn't look great. Just so much went wrong, and it was like a really bad vibes time, but for me it was a good vibes time. It was one of those weird in-between situations. So, I think 2020 was one of the lowest points for Pokemon because of the low reception, but things were starting to get better with the introduction of the DLC, Isle of Armor, and Crown Tundra. I played mostly Isle of Armor. I don't think I ever really finished Crown Tundra, but they were a really good step in the right direction of making these more open spaces, because that was one of the biggest things they showed off was the wild area in Gen 8, and that in Gen 8 proper, the wild area really did just feel unfinished. It felt like a beta test for a system they were trying to implement into something else. Gee, I wonder what. Just like how in Let's Go they had like the roaming Pokemon, but it didn't really feel super utilized in that game. They were clearly using it for some other system. Gee, I wonder what. But yeah, that's how it ended up working out, was that the DLC kind of felt like, oh, we're getting there, but we weren't quite there, and like all the naysayers were still naysaying because there wasn't much there. There was the potential, but there wasn't much there. So 2020 kind of came and went, and then 2021 I think is when we got really good and really bad. Starting with the bad. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. There's a reason you don't see it here. I owned Shining Pearl. I sold Shining Pearl. It was my game to sell. I had the Jirachi, I had the Celebi, I had like the pre-order stuff, I had the early stuff. I didn't pre-order the game actually. I pre-ordered Sword and Shield, but I didn't pre-order that game. Either way, I had like the early downloadable stuff. I had, no, it wasn't the Celebi, it was a Manaphy. I had the downloadable stuff. I had like the special stuff of, oh, I'm gonna play through the game, and it lost Manaphy so quick. I don't blame Ilka for it, but they are the worst made live Pokemon games. They're just Diamond and Pearl with a couple of new features, but they're still worse Diamond and Pearl because the passion isn't there. And it sucks that Gen 4 had to get a remake that was so slapdash like that, and I genuinely think that it was a marketing move, it was a business move. It was Game Freak freaking out because they realized that they wanted to make this game, but they had to like figure something out for like another game, so they had to like make this Gen 4 themed, and they had to have another studio come in and hastily make remakes, and the remakes came out like unfinished. The remakes came out literally unfinished. Like Wi-Fi capabilities were not there at launch for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and there were big glitches that were there for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Not good PR. Not good PR at all. Bad vibes, bad time. And then came February, and this beautiful gem came out. I made a video summoning this from the heavens when it first released. Not because I was so convinced it was going to be the best Pokemon game ever. I was convinced I was going to really like this game because I saw the direction, and it was something that I had called for a while. I felt like this is the game that they were wanting to make. Ever since they realized they were making games for Switch, I felt like this is the game that Game Freak, not Pokemon Company, no, the indie studio known as Game Freak that is now at the heart of this monstrous corporate machine, the little itty-bitty game studio, this is the game they wanted to make. And by God did they make it. Does it have its problems? Hell yeah. It is built on a booty cheeks engine. We're talking Sonic Frontiers level of pop-in, and at least it has the decency to fade in like Sonic Frontiers, but also way more restrictive than Frontiers' engine. Like, Frontiers' engine is so much better than this. Like, it's not just the pop-in, it's also like the restrictiveness in movement and everything else. It just isn't a really good engine. Booty engine, amazing game. This is my favorite Pokemon game. When I beat this, I stood up and clapped because Game Freak was back. The Game Freak I knew from when I was younger proved to me they were still in there, and they were just not being utilized properly. Because when they had the time, then they had the vision, they could make a game that made me love them again. And this is the game that did it. And that's kind of how Gen 8 really ended with me. It started controversial, and it ended on a high of highs where they made my favorite Pokemon game. I felt complete. And I'll be honest, coming into Gen 9, because that's where we are now, where that's our point in history that we're talking about now, I didn't really care all that much. I didn't want them to announce a new Pokemon game so fast. When I saw them doing it, I went, no, because I just experienced peak fiction. I'd experienced the highest of highs. And I felt complete with Pokemon personally. And Scarlet and Violet look good. I'll say that flat out. They look good. I don't really think that Pokemon look that amazing, but also, we all have our own opinions on Pokemon. Like, we all vibe with different groups of Pokemon. Just because I don't like these Pokemon doesn't mean you can't. It's like a thing of, I don't really care that much for a lot of the Gen 3 Pokemon, but I like a lot of the Gen 4 Pokemon, and a lot of people say the Gen 4 Pokemon all look terrible. It's like we all have our own opinions on the Pokemon, and that's just how it's gonna be. But otherwise, Scarlet and Violet look pretty good. Like, a lot of the issues were fixed from Gen 8. And I hope that's the case. I hope it does well. I will not be picking it up day one, because Sonic Frontiers, which is very good, by the way, you should go buy it. It's a very good game, But, yeah, man, I'll be picking it up probably, like, Christmas. That's probably when I'll play it. But I just kind of want to say, with all the ums and ahs that I've done in this video, this very short but, like, rushed video, I'm happy I got to experience Gen 8. I did a lot of growing up during Gen 8. This is a generation I will remember for the rest of my days. I am super sad to see it go, even though I know at the end of the day that it was a controversial gen. I'm still sad to see Gen 8 go, because it brought a lot of good memories with friends, a lot of good memories with making videos. I genuinely had trouble finding the words to say for this video, because it means so much to me, and I think that's a mark of, at the very least, a clap for a generation. So let's give Gen 8 a clap, and let's say hello to Gen 9. Here's hoping. Well, have a great night, everyone, and I'll see you in the Paldea region.